Good evening. How everyone doing today? God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Sarah Jill Spirit Divine. I'm here to give you some news on today. We will talk about our portion budget protect. Mr. President has signed on today. We're gonna talk about mental health. Gun violence. We're gonna talk about common scent law, and which is gun store law gonna be under common sense law. We're also going to talk about the voting age. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the bipartisan budget protect that Mr. President Bennett had to sign on today. So Inflation Law Chip and Science Act, the PACT Act, Inflation Reduction Act, Clean Energy, excuse me, investment prescription drug safety. Bipartisan budget agreement protect progress. Debt ceiling is complete. And Mr. President Bennett just signed into a law of corporation bipartisan budget agreement that prevent a first ever default while reducing or safeguarding Social Security, Medicaid and Medicare, and fulfilling our scarred obligation to our veterans. So we'll continue building our strongest economics in the world. So let's finish the race. So he signed off on that today. So let's talk about mental health since that's the main subject. So when they have crime, mass shoot, everything going on, everybody blame it on mental health instead of we looking at the real issue that is around us. So mental health and gun violence. So every time we experience a tragedy involving gun, people with mental health are drawn into the conversation. That's the first thing. He probably had mental health. If they have other issues that people have without mental health that do wrongdoing. Some of them be drunk. Some of them be on drugs. So we have to be cautious of every mental health person is not violent. So the truth is that the majority of the violence is not potential by people with mental illness, and that's what I would just say. That's why we have to pay attention of what's around us. We trying to ignore the real issue of why we have all this crime, and we just want to blame it on mental health. But this issue really needs to be solved because we blame it on mental health, but there's nothing being done about it. So we have to concentrate on the real issue of why we have the gun violence. So whenever we hear about another tragedy involving gun violence, we grieve along with our fellow citizens, and the community members, impacted by it. So far too often we hear, comments about people with mental health, being violent, which simply isn't true, because because a lot of mental health are not violent. A lot of them, a lot of them don't even know what they're doing. A lot of them don't even know how to really go pick up a gun. So we have to really focus on what the real issue is or why we have the crime. So there are real people who dealing with mental health, in a family or member, someone in the community. Now living with mental health condition, many of them are not violent. A lot of them just need help, so to prevent tragedy, protecting our children in the community, every time there are mass shooting, mental health be the first conversation. Everyone assume every bad thing that's happening in this world. We had someone, made a statement too. This whole world falling apart because mental health. That's not true. We have to really look at the real issue. They have to have, they're saying everyone in the world, every time it's a shooting, or they must have had mental health, or this and that, they must have had mental health. They have a lot of real issues or why to have tragedy in this world. We have to look at the real issue, what is going on around us. Increase risk of gun violence. One, many are living in broken homes. So these are real issues that we really have to look at. What causing this violence. So one, many living in broken homes. We have a lot of children living in broken homes. They might be just living with their dad, and sometimes the dad don't know how to take care of the children and raise them the way they're supposed to, or sometimes they're living in a house with just a mother. This is no excuse. But they're living in broken home, and sometimes they're seeing things as a child, with the drinking. Sometimes they may have drugs in the house, or sometimes all kind of things that go on. And a lot of times these kids is raising themselves. And sometimes they're just living out in the street among the guns, the alcohol, the drugs. So these are the real issues that we have to look at. What causing all this tragedy. Now, sometimes when they're in a broken home, sometimes they witness domestic violence. They witness people in the household drinking or doing drugs. They witness all these things. So too, some is raising themselves, living out in the street with the violence. So they're picking up how to do this and how to do that. Drinking, some are drinking, and doing drugs at 12 years old. So three, many is doing alcohol and illegal drugs. So lately we have a lot of crime. They're just like a couple of weeks ago. The guys look like they wasn't no more than like 12, 13 years old. So they're living out on the street. And not living in a home. And sometimes kids can live. Let me change this, because sometimes kids can live in a home with a parents providing for their child and try to give them love and everything else. And sometimes they still will turn left and go their own way. Sexual abuse. Sometimes a child can be sexual abuse in the house, and sometimes they can traumatize a person. And sometimes they can, the only thing they'll think of is somebody just touched them, or trying to help them, whatever. They'll think somebody's trying to harm them, and the first thing on their mind is trying to shoot or kill someone, because they haven't did it when the person abused them at that time. So these are real issues that we have to look at, what causing the crime, the violence, the drugs, the alcohol. These are the real issues that we have to look at. So five, many drop out of school. Many don't know how to read and write. Many have left their home, at 8, 12 years old, raising themselves. And when they're out in the street raising themselves, what is they doing? They're among the drugs, the alcohol, the guns, selling the drugs, selling, trafficking guns. Some are being abused out there. These are the real issues that we have to look at. So 6, and when they're drinking, doing drugs, and having guns in their possession, someone triggered them, or they're grabbing the stove, for money to food because they're living out in the streets, they have to eat, So these are the ones who really is doing the crime, So this is the risk of gun violence, this is the risk of gun violence. So this is the real issue that we have to look at. So now the ones that do have mental health condition, some of them are not violent. Some of them don't even know how to pick up a gun. So I advise anyone that have the mental health to seek treatment, especially if you have violence on your mind, to lead you to the store, a gun store. Two, also the ones who have mental health leading to the gun store, will be stopped. There will be enforced, a request of a criminal check and a mental health check. I put the package out yesterday. Assault weapon. I banged that and also request that they start putting these policies together. So these policies get stick to the store sales. Because if we don't have the policy on these guns, violence, the stores gonna keep on selling. They need stuff in right, so they can start enforcing these rules. So they can start enforcing these law rules, so we can stop. They have some mental health. Some of them mental health from raising themselves. Some of them been traumatized of what had happened to them as a child. Some of them left their home of what happened to them. So there are some with mental health, that may do crime, but we have to really look at the real issue of all this violence. So we're gonna enforce. We're gonna enforce criminal enforce. Criminal check, mental health check. So they go to the stores. So they'll be stopped. Because they cannot purchase a gun the same day. We have to start enforcing these criminal checks and these mental health. So either one, if your criminal check, mental health check come back, you will not be able to purchase a gun. You will not be able to purchase a gun. And we have to look at the issues that the ones with mental health really need treatment, not to be locked in prison. A lot of them, you're locking them up in prison, and a lot of them not surviving. Because they really need help. Because a lot of time it's triggering them back in their childhood or how they was raised. So we also gonna talk about common sense law, and we gonna talk about safe storage law that's under common sense law. This another tragedy we had last month sometime. You want a child finding a gun in a home, bringing it to school, shooting shooting it in the neighborhood. So this we about to enforce this gun storage law. So the presence of an unlocked gun in a home increase a risk of both unintentional gun injury, and intentional shooting. So you intentionally want to shoot someone, or you unintentionally shoot someone. When you unintentionally shoot someone, that means you don't grab a gun that was not locked, and you didn't meant to shoot that person, but by being reckless, finding a gun in a home and being unlocked, that unintentional shooting someone. So this law here, enforcing this law here, for everyone, every gun owner, take hold of this law here. So safe storage law require gun to be stored, to lock, have the gun locked and unloaded. Make sure it's unloaded and locked. And when any person prohibited from possession, a gun is present in a gun owner home, including convicted, felony. Now those convicted of domestic violence, in those with certain mental health conditions. Now child access, provision, law impose criminal liability. And I know some of you saying, well, why, we have a gun in the house, for our protection. So when someone come, you don't want to go through that trouble trying to load a gun up, get it out the box and all this kind of stuff. But it's safe to be in the home among the kids. Now, if you don't have no kids in the home and it's just you, then that's okay. Still put it up in case someone come in the home and find it. But you have to think about the kids, in the household have to be safe. So the child access provision, the law impose criminal liability on an adult who will negligence, leave a firearm accessible. That's what I would say. You can't just leave the gun on the counter, because you're saying it's for your protection, to children or otherwise allow children access a firearm. So unintentional injuries, led to death to children or anyone else, that come into your home. So keep all guns in your home hide and away from children, or place your firearm, in a box. Make sure you lock the gun before you place it in the box, and make sure that box have a lock on it. I know you're saying that someone come in the house, you ain't got time to be doing all that, but it's worth it when a child is being saved. So it's about saving the kids, because a lot of times we had kids got killed because they found the gun and playing when they think it's a play gun. So make sure before you place your gun in a box to lock the gun and then lock the box. So if the children do find the gun, they won't be able to shoot it. They won't be able to harm the one, they won't be able to harm themselves. So this safe stores law, it's a pretty good law, because a couple of months ago, we had kids shooting themselves. We had kids finding a gun, bringing it to school. So even though you got to go through the trouble to get the gun, to shoot someone, it's best to have your child in the home safe. So keep the gun away from children. Place a locked gun in a box and then lock the box. So if the child do find the gun, because you don't want to have the gun unlocked and they find the box and the box is locked and they're shaking the box, the gun still will go off. So the gun has to be locked when you place it in the box. So I request to enforce a criminal background check. Check for any criminal charge. Check for any gun trafficking. Enforce gun stores law. We just talked about. Secure safety at the home. Vote. Check for mental health. Age purchase is 20 years old to purchase a gun. Now see, this is all under common sense law. This is under common sense law. And this is a law of a gun store law. Also is required. They will have, it will have legal action. If you don't follow these procedures and this incident do happen in your home. So next we're gonna talk about voting age. Talk about this last month sometime. It's the next year gonna be voting time. So voting age is a minimum of establishment, by the law, that a person must attain before they become eligible to vote in a public election. So the 26th Amendment rights to vote at the age of 18. So I think the age of 18 is appropriate age to vote. So Section 1, the right of citizens of the United States who are 18 years old of age or older to vote shall not be denied, or abridged by the United States or by any state or count of age. So Section 2, the Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appreciate legacy. So I request that voting age 18, remain. So I think age 18 is appropriate age to vote, because they were trying to take that age from them, and try to boost it up to 19 or 20. I say we need everyone to vote. So 18 years old is appropriate age, to start voting. But we need to we need it's so much going on right now. We need to vote who wants to be in. We need to vote who needs to be out. So we need every vote that's count. So 18 years old will remain to vote. So we talked about we talked about Mr. President Bennett has signed he signed into the bipartisan budget agreement. Now he signed it today. That prevent a first ever default while reducing the safeguarding Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and fulfilling our scar obligation to our veterans. Because, they're out there, fighting for us, So we'll continue on building a stronger economy in the world. So let's finish the race. So that's that is complete, into 2 years. And so we also had to talk about mental health. We talk about mental health. Every time they have a crime, we always say that person had to be, mental health. A lot of them do have mental health, but we have to start looking at the real focus on this violence that's in this world. And sometimes it comes from alcohol. They may be drunk. They may be on drugs. They may have been a sexual abuse as a child. Some of them drop out of school and don't have an education, don't know how to read and write. And some of them heading on back to school, and doing crime. So something triggered them off as a child. So it did. Some of them living in a broken home, so they witness a whole lot of domestic violence. Drugs and drinking in the household. So a lot of them witness all these things. And a lot of them raising themselves, living out on the street. And so they witness to guns and drugs and alcohol and learning how to do all these things at 12 and 13 years old. And when they're drinking, doing drugs, having a gun in their possession, the first thing they want to do is harm someone. Killing is the first thing on their mind when they're drunk. So this is the real risk of issue, and violence is what's really going on. What we have to look at, what we have to look at, and also we do have mental health. I advise to get treatment, and the ones that are leading to the gun stores, I would request, to enforce, a criminal background check, checking for criminal charge, checking for mental health. That way they'll be stopped. They'll be stopped at the store and won't be able to purchase a gun at the same day. That's how we can stop a lot of mental health and stop a whole lot of violence, people that's trying to buy guns at the store. So we also talk about common sense law. Talk about the gun stores law, and I think it would be good, good to have in the household. And they're gonna start enforcing this law if incidents keep happening like this here in the household. So they're coming out with this law here, and they will start enforcing this rule. So they're gonna be also checking for criminal charge, gun trafficking. Gun stores law will be enforced. If they have any, they're gonna start charging. Anyone, as being negligent or leaving a gun in a house unprotected. Having a loaded gun, laying around. They're also going to be checking for mental health. They're going to be checking for the age, 20 years old, to purchase a gun. And I request that Congress pass this bill, and we have to start printing up these policies, so these stores can start following these rules. So we can start putting pressure on the stores. So we also talk about the voting. For the voting age to remain at 18 years old, because we need everyone to start voting. Everyone to start voting. So that's all the news I have for you today. So with the voting, voting starts next year. So anyone that's 18 years old, you can go to City Hall and start filling out the form to start being registered to vote for next year. And anyone else, that vote and you have not voted in a while, you can also go and update your information. So we need everyone to come out and vote on next year. So y'all have a blessed day, and I see y'all on the next video.